It probably be no surprise that obviously I support assisted dying, and obviously our committee's here to grapple and assess, whether we can legislate that over the coming period. And it's a difficult, and fundamental question to ask society and the committee. Difficult, right? And I think we all agree with that. And obviously there's deficiencies in our health system in relation to inequalities and palliative care, and hopefully in time that will get much, much better. But that shouldn't be a barrier in relation to legislating in the future. And I know Dr. Kelleher has said that, where other jurisdictions have legislated, even if it's very limited, and you look at Oregon, you look at New Zealand, Australia, it's very limited. But it's quite a fallacious argument to say that once you legislate for A, then B, C, and D automatically happens. There's no evidence of that. I mean, we are legislators at the end of the day. If we legislate for assisted dying, it's us that will have to change the law, or not change the law, or change the law at all. So there's a whole mechanism that things change over time. And if we look at Oregon hasn't, over the last 25, 26 years, essentially hasn't really changed the criteria in relation to those that can avail of assisted dying. And for the minutes, I don't agree on the basis of somebody having a mental health condition to avail of assisted dying. Completely, I don't agree, But I do agree with somebody availing of assisted dying in relatively limited circumstances, right? And that obviously that has to be teased out over the period of time. But I just think that argument falls apart when somebody says, if you legislate, then everybody will want to die. That is not the case. That is not the case. People want to live. They want to live as fully as possible. But there are certain circumstances, and we all have personal experience of this. There are certain circumstances where somebody does not want to go through a very complicated and painful part of their life, right? But who is to say that they have to? Can anybody say to me in this room or anywhere to say, look at that person has to go through that? They shouldn't. And they should have a choice in relation to how that ends. And I think that's a fundamental right for everybody. And for us as a committee to debate here and beyond.
Can I respond?
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Deputy Kenny. And then the first point I would say, I totally agree with you, Deputy Kenny, insofar as I think you do have a huge challenge, actually, and I really commend the work of this Oireachtas committee. I think I've seen your timetables. I really think you are talking to the right people, and you're looking at what has happened around the world, and I don't underestimate, the seriousness of this, of course, but the responsibility, you all hold. I suppose just some comments, and my colleagues may want to come in as well. The first point is about, I suppose, the limitations on, we've spoken about it already, about access to things like palliative care and to mental health services. And this has been raised before. I think it was a colleague from Cork, from UCC, had raised about having access to services to be able to make autonomous choices. To be able to make a choice, you really do have to have access to services in the first place to be truly said to be making an autonomous choice, that stuff is available, that access to care is available to you. And we see lots of gaps in clinical practice where they may not necessarily be the case. I suppose that,
if I might say, I suppose that the nub of where we're coming from is that while this is a very important area to consider for people, we cannot see a way of it being introduced with sufficient safeguards to allow protection of the vulnerable people in our society.
I disagree with that, I have to say.
I have to move on.